Welcome to Stuckey's 1K Super Bowl 60 Challenge. I'm Stuckey, and joining me today are going to be 10 others, starting off with none other than Sean Kerner. And the goal is simple. You have 1,000 hypothetical dollars. You can bet up to 5 bets, minimum 1, maximum 5. Allocate them however you'd like. Whoever finishes with the most money wins my money. If you're watching live, when someone comes on, if you like what they have, comment that you like them to win, and if they do win, I'll pay you as well. If I have one bet that pays out more than the max of everyone else. If I win, payouts get reduced in half. I think it's a fun way to talk about some bets that are still available that we like. There's some game theory involved in this as well. So let's get right into it. I'll bring in Sean Kerner, the odds maker. What's going on, brother?
What's up? Yeah, happy to talk. I mean, we've been talking about stuff off the side today, but happy to officially talk about my punter prop and some other Patriot receiving props. Want to hear your thoughts on those as well, but very excited for this.
All right, well, let's get right into it. We'll start just with you have 2 bets.
Yes.
And you're going 500 each. One, of course, is a punter prop, and the other is a parlay. What do you got?
Yeah, so 500 each. The first one, I had to go with a punter prop. This is the only game all year we get punter props. So I'm going with my Michael Dixon longest punt under 56.5 yards at minus 125. I grabbed this at, under 57.5 earlier in the week. I still like it here because, Michael Dixon's probably one of the best punters in the game. His longest punt this season was a 60-yarder back in week 12, and Chimere DK returned that thing 90 yards for a touchdown. And ever since then, he's kind of shifted his approach. He still skies it. He has, one of the highest hang times in the league, top 5 rate. So he's maintained that, sky high punt. But I noticed ever since that punt return, he's reduced his average distance by 2 yards. And it's actually reduced the return rate by over 20%. So you have to figure, facing Marcus Jones, one of the best punt returners in the game, he's going to continue that approach, I feel. He probably doesn't want to boom it and have Marcus Jones get, extra couple yards head start.
Yep.
Outkick his coverage. So we've been talking about both punters probably kind of want to avoid longer returns. So that's why I like under 56.5. He's only cleared one punt since then. So again, I think this is something that he's actively trying to do, not punt it too far. So, I think as long as punt will be in the 54, 55 yard range, and ideally he's going to be hovering around 50 yards and sky it and get Marcus Jones to fair catch it. I still love this angle.
Yep. Appreciate that, Katie. I've been wanting to do this for the last couple of years, so I'm glad it all came together. Shout out to our producers. So my question to you, because I also I'm looking at, and I think you agree with this, longest punt return under, I think it's 18.5. I don't know if it's gone up. I'm waiting to see if it goes up. You have 2 electric punt returners, but each team knows that, right? In the Super Bowl, you have 2 weeks to prepare. And I think both teams trust their defenses. I think they're going to say, look, we're not letting either one of these punt returners beat us. I think that's going to be a major focus, is not allowing either one of Jones or Shaheed to have a big return and potentially change this game, which we've seen Shaheed and Jones do a number of times this year. My only fear for that prop and yours is this turns into just a complete punt fest. How many punts would there need to be for this to not be TV where you wouldn't like it?
Well, I'm projecting Seattle for about 3.5 punts. So, I would say 5 punts is where this might turn into more of a coin flip. But again, he's actively not trying.
He used to clear this number all the time in past years. And then you see the clear difference after that.
Exactly. He changed his approach last year. Where his hang time's much higher. He's sacrificing distance. But the kickoff return rules have changed things where hopefully this doesn't happen because I have under 3.5 kickoff touchbacks. But if they decide to, avoid kicking it off to Shaheed and have them just start on the 35, really just need one first down, and then it's impossible for him to clear this. So, yeah, I think, if Seattle gets backed up and they're on their own 20, maybe he'll really try to boom it. But again, he's not trying to do that. So I think even if he punts it 5 times, I still think he'll probably try to top out around 55, 56 yards. But it makes it exciting, having action on the punts always makes it exciting. But I agree. I think the longest punt return, I think, is a sharp angle. It opened at 20.5.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm just kind of mad I didn't get that number. That's why I haven't locked it in. But it might get back up to 20.5. But Shaheed, he calls, a ton of fair catches. Yeah. So there's a chance we don't see many returns here.
Okay. And what is your second bet for the hypothetical stuck bucks?
Yeah, so my second one's $500 on this 2-way parlay. 2 of my favorite angles of the game where I'm attacking Hunter Henry over 15 plus receiving yards in the second quarter and Stephon Diggs 15 plus receiving yards in the third quarter. And I did a deep dive on, quarter by quarter props. And I love this angle for Hunter Henry specifically because for whatever reason, he gets off to slower starts. Only had 5 receptions in the first quarter all season. Raybon had some opinions on why that might be. But, clearly when it comes to the scripted plays, Henry's not as involved. So once you get to the second quarter, you really see his target rate go up. So in the second quarter this year, he's averaged over 15 yards per game. His first read rate is all the way up to 21%. So you'd expect him to get about a 28% target rate with that kind of first read rate. So for whatever reason, when it comes to, the 4-minute offense, the 2-minute offense, once the game turns into more, Drake May improvising, he loves going Henry's way. So I know you're on Henry's over for the full game. If he gets off to a slow start, that might kind of be like Bitcoin right now, just double down on it. That would be the time to invest more, in my opinion, is towards the end of the first quarter, because that's when he really gets going. So I think this second quarter, he could get 1 to 2 catches. And he's the type of pass catcher that makes every catch count. I mean, his median per catch this year is 12 yards. So, I think he'll clear this in the second quarter. And on the flip side, Diggs coming out of halftime has just been remarkable. He has the second highest yards per route run rate in the third quarter, 37% target rate, leads the league. So you have to imagine that has to do with coaching. At halftime, they make their adjustments, and they want to get their top receiver the ball. So usually coming out of half is when Diggs is May's top target. So kind of have some fun here with the second and third quarter, where I think second quarter is going to be Henry, third quarter Diggs. Parlay these two for plus 502. So I'm putting half of my bankroll on this, half on the safer, what I think is a 60% chance win rate. Try to find like a conservative middle ground here for the contest.
Okay, max around 2,900 if you hit both. Before you get out of here, one, where are you watching the game? And 2, who do you like?
Well, I'll probably be going out with my wife, who is a lifelong Patriots fan. So we're going to try to find a New England friendly bar for her to cheer at. I am in line with the spread, but I will be with my wife that's rooting for the Pats. I think I'm going to lock in Patriots plus 3.5 for the first half, though.
I was thinking about that as well.
Yeah. I mean, right now it's minus 120. So it's like, most likely outcome for the first half is, Seahawks are up by 3 points. Don't mind cashing that. And then the second half, if they have a lead, I wouldn't want to have, plus 4.5 in that type of situation. But the plus 3.5 for the first half for the Pats is very tempting to me. We are monitoring some key injuries on defense. So I've been kind of waiting for practice reports and things like that. But it seems like everyone's a go. So The closer we get, the more I'm thinking about locking in Pat's first half, but still think, Seahawks win a close one here.
I would tend to agree. I'm looking at that as well. Well, enjoy the game. Enjoy the weekend. Appreciate all your work all year.
Too.
And I followed some of your special teams props. The touchbacks one, that's fun. I think, again, these teams trust their defenses, don't want teams starting at 35. You got 2 weeks to prepare, some new kickoff. And so I don't think there's going to be a lot of touchbacks. And I actually like the under. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of scoring. So I like that. And then, I'll be looking at the under longest punt return. But good luck in the game, brother. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Who are we bringing on next? It's Mr. Nick Giffen, RotoDoc. Nick, how goes it, brother?
Doing great, Stuck. How are you?
Good. I guess I'll ask you, what are you doing for the game? Who do you like? Do you like a side or someone to win that you have conviction on?
I don't really have a conviction. If I do the luck rankings, which has our schedule adjusted expected scores and recency weighting those. I'm almost dead on with the market. I think I have a slight lean towards Seattle -4.5 and a slight, I'm talking tiny lean to the over, which we'll get to with one of my picks as a score pick. But I'll be watching the game right here in front of my computer because we'll be doing Bet What Happens Live at halftime. You don't need to watch any of those halftime shows. It's your last chance to bet on the NFL. You may as well bet at halftime. Bet What Happens Live in the Action Network Discord.
Absolutely. Always worth watching. And the Super Bowl halftime feels so long. So that'll help pass the time and hopefully put a few extra dollars in everyone's pocket. You have 4 bets. You mentioned the exact score that I do not endorse this one because this would cause me a lot of pain because I have Seattle under 25.5. What's your exact score prop? And is this just a pricing thing?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, this is not a recommended bet. It's just kind of a bet to try to win this contest. $20 on the exact score. Seattle 26, New England 21. If you take those recency weighted, schedule adjusted expected scores, we get 20.6 to 25.6. So you round both of those, it's 26-21. And I actually think there's a path here for Seattle to get 26. You either get 4 field goals and 2 touchdowns. Myers has kicked 4 field goals. I think it's in like 5 games already this year. So attempted 4 field goals, I should say. So there's definitely a path here, especially with New England's improving defense. It could be a little bit of bend, don't break for them. But also, just missing an extra point or having to go for a 2-point conversion. Let's say Seattle's down 20-21 late and they score a touchdown. They go for 2 to try to push it back up to a 7-point lead instead of a 6-point lead, right? 6 points kind of silly. If New England gets a touchdown, all they have to do is kick the extra point and win. So you'd go for 2 there. If you miss the 2, it's 26-21. So a couple paths here. It was 350-1 at FanDuel. It's down right now. So we can use 300-1 at Caesars. But I'm pretty sure FanDuel will pop it back up at 350-1. And this has happened twice in around 450 games with the spread and total within a tiny window of the current spread and total. So that would mean, twice in 450. Well, there's 2 ways 26-21 could go, New England or Seattle. So it really is 1 in 450, but you have to think the Seattle side is much more favored since they are the favored team here. So I think about 350-1 is about fair, maybe 300-1. It's just a bet to promote the luck ranking schedule adjusted expected scores and try to win this contest.
All right. Then you're looking at a third quarter prop that Kerner went this direction as well, but you're going with AJ Barner in the third quarter.
Yeah, I think Kerner went Henry in the second quarter or third quarter or something. I'm going AJ Barner third quarter touchdown at 12-1. So we'll put $130 on that. The thing I love here, over 38% of AJ Barner's target volume has come in the third quarter. They really lean on him coming out of halftime. 25% would be if every quarter was equal. He's at over 38%. And 4 of his 7 touchdowns have come in the third quarter. That's more than half of his touchdowns. Yet FanDuel is offering the longest odds of any quarter for AJ Barner touchdowns to be the third quarter, which I think is crazy. And it would be one thing if he was just really kind of randomly getting third quarter touchdowns on low volume, but This is absolutely his maximum volume quarter. So give me AJ Barner, third quarter touchdown, 12-1. New England versus tight ends, they're about average in both volume and efficiency allowed. So I don't see any reason why we can't just stick with Barner's season-long rates here.
Yeah, and I think they actually might be a little bit more vulnerable than their schedule. I mean, their schedule was so easy, right? And all the backup quarterbacks they faced. And you look at the weakness of that defense, I think it's in the middle of the field, their linebackers in coverage. So Barner might be able to take advantage. You have a Cooper Kupp angle?
I do. Cooper Kupp and Stuckey, I always have a bet every year on the first, whether it's rush attempt yardage or pass completion yardage or reception yardage. I'm going Cooper Kupp first reception yards under 10.5. It's minus 120 odds at DraftKings. And this is my big bet. I'm going $600 to win 500 here because I have this at like 8.5 as his median expectation. His season-long reception yardage median has been 9 yards. And in the first half, his air yards have actually been 2 yards shorter than the second half. And it's way more likely his first reception comes in the first half than the second half, just because, obviously it's earlier in the game. So I think, it's just already way too high at 10.5, just based off his median reception. And you factor in this New England Patriots defense. You mentioned they're kind of more weak with linebackers. Well, to wide aligned players and slot aligned players, the New England Patriots allow the fourth fewest yards after the catch, which is one of those good Cooper Kupp traits, yards after the catch. So if he's getting these short targets, but then he can't get any yards after the catch, that would be really tough. And I looked at similar players to Cooper Kupp based off ADOT, positional alignment, and yards after the catch. New England allows a median of 7 yards per reception to those receivers this year.
And then your final one is, and by the way, to that bet, early in Super Bowls, you tend to see teams come out very conservative, right? Like, let's not make a mistake early. Let's ease our quarterback into the game. So you tend to see like some shorter passes, get the quarterback in rhythm. So that, and there's going to be a lot of attention on JSN. So there could be like an easy short pass to Kupp early on, which would help your bet. And then your final one, Raybon and I actually talked about this on the Action Network podcast, because I can see this Super Bowl being one where a defensive player wins the MVP. But picking one is such a crapshoot, right? Like, you've had, guys like Malcolm Smith, Dexter Jackson, like it's just random. And to cover all of those bases, you're going with just any defensive player to win MVP.
Yeah, it's 13-1 odds at DraftKings. They have on the MVP tab, defensive player versus other, and any defensive player is 13-1. Well, Stuckey, if we go back the last 22 years, I'm intentionally taking the worst possible window over the last 22 years. It's been won twice. So that would be, 1 out of 11, which means plus 1,000 is fair odds. And that's like the worst case window, because you go further back than that, and all of a sudden we get more defensive players winning MVP. And if you go back to that further window, like you said, it was Dexter Jackson. There was a 10-year gap of nothing, then 2 and 3 years of defensive MVP, which actually was broken with the Patriots versus Seahawks game, Malcolm Smith. And now we're at a 9-year gap. So it's almost like we're kind of air quote due for that. Just, maybe a little bit of voter fatigue with quarterbacks and receivers winning it all the time. Plus, I just think this is a great spot defensively for both teams. Both these quarterbacks have been turnover prone. Drake May more so fumbling by getting sacked a ridiculous amount of times. I mean, he's put the ball on the ground 14 times this year. And Sam Darnold has put the ball on the ground 12 times this year and has thrown 14 interceptions. So I think this is just a great spot for both defenses to force some turnovers. And if somebody, takes one to the house or a strip sack, I really like the Seattle safeties to get an interception of Drake May. There's a lot of ways this could go, but instead of just picking one player, just take the defense. 13-1 odds is way too long.
Yeah, like this one. And I think both defensive lines have huge advantages. And both defenses disguise very well on the back end. Both quarterbacks could be very nervous here. I could see a number of mistakes, which could lead to one defensive player having a big game. And maybe, just maybe, it is the Patriots. Mike Vrabel is coaching them. Mike Vrabel has caught passes for touchdowns in the Super Bowl. Maybe they have something drawn up for a linebacker who also has a big day on the defensive side of the ball in a low-scoring game. All right, good stuff, Nick. Your max payout is the highest if you hit everything. If it's 26, 21, that's very unlikely. But if you hit your other three, you're around 5,300. But if you hit the exact score as well, you'd be around 11,000. Good luck. Enjoy the game. Everyone, make sure you check out on X.
Good luck, everyone.
All right, who are we bringing on next? Mr. Matt Moore. We are NBA resident who didn't get to enjoy the playoffs because the Chiefs didn't make it finally. But I can't really make fun of them too much because my Ravens also didn't make it. Matt, NBA is your forte. What's one key takeaway from the trade deadline before we get to your bets? Like the biggest impact or just a high level?
Jazz will be probably better next year than the win total. Pacers probably a little bit under on the win total. Clippers kind of saved their entire franchise, and I probably think I'm going to start fading Cavs after really liking where they were at. The James Harden move has me spooked. I do not enjoy that trade.
But does this move the needle for who can win it all this year? Anything happen? Did anything happen that can do that?
The closest one is the Minnesota Timberwolves trading for Ayo Dosunmu. That was a freaking steal of a deal. They got like a defensive havoc wreaker who can also handle and shoot. So the Wolves, who have made the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row, probably some added value there.
Okay. All right. Let's get to your bets. You have 5, and you're going with the full game under.
Mm-hmm.
I'll list yours out, and you can hit on any ones that you want.
Yep.
Cooper Kupp or Hunter Henry touchdown, either or. That's around even money. You have some sack props. Spillane, Chason, I think around 2-1. Spillane, I think he's close to what, 9-1, 10-1?
930 was what I found in the market.
And then Shaheed anytime touchdown. Which ones do you feel the most conviction on or want to talk about?
First off, I love that they stuck me on here. I am behind Kerner and Giffen, 2 of the smartest human beings on the planet when it comes to sports betting, with you. And then I'm going to get followed by probably Raybon. So it's like genius, my dumbass, and then more geniuses. So it's a good run here for me. Let's start with Kupp or Henry touchdown. So I want to look a lot at what the red zone behaviors of these teams were, and with the way that the Seahawks drop back into zone coverage and the fact that Henry has been so consistently targeted over and over and over again, specifically in the red zone. Like this looks like I love getting this, be able to get either one, because you're basically talking about in the red zone, especially with how the Patriots, you talked about this, about how the Patriots and Seahawks both disguise coverages. I think this is going to be a defensive game. I'm on the under. I'll talk about that in a sec, but being able to get either one at DraftKings for plus 105 to me was a sweetheart of a deal. I get to get either one. My goal in here was not to go long because I know our experts have given out so many bets that they were going to get hyper creative and competitive here. I'm going for like singles and doubles to try and sneak into winning this one. I'm basically trying to like under the cover of darkness, sneak in and steal this thing. Love the under. I saw that you're on Seahawks under on the team total. I want to go ahead and play the both outcomes here because I think there's a good chance that this is just a miserable football game. This is a joke of a Super Bowl made up by fake teams in a fake year.
Broken like a true Chiefs fan.
Fake year. If Mahomes doesn't get hurt, he leads the touchdown winning drive. They come back, they make the playoffs, and they win the Super Bowl. Can never deny it. Can't prove that. Can't prove I'm wrong. And so this is a fake Super Bowl. It's going to be ugly and nasty and terrible. I love the under on this. The sacks are basically built off of, I know that the Patriots aren't they're not low in pressure in blitz rate, but they, to me, am I wrong that like Vrabel is probably going to send more pressure because he knows he can disrupt Sam Darnold, and that's a great path for the Patriots to get field position if they can cause turnovers with Sam Darnold?
I don't know. I mean, like this is when you change tendencies. I mean, the Patriots over the first like 13, 14 weeks, they were not a heavy blitz team. They were blitzing around 29, 30% of the time, but they've upped their blitz rates since week 14. They've been around 41% since then. Do they maintain that pace? Do they pick and choose their spots more this time around? Because you have to remember they were playing, right, the Chargers offensive line. They were playing, Jarrett Stidham in weather. They were playing the Texans, who didn't have Nico. They were missing an offensive lineman. Dalton Schultz got hurt. And then down the stretch at the end of the regular season, they played Quinn Ewers and Cook for the Jets. So like this is, this is a much more dangerous team to blitz heavy against. Darnold can be hit or miss against the blitz. Like he'll hit some big plays. He'll also make some mistakes. He's most vulnerable against interior pressure, which the Patriots can generate, and they have two of the best in the interior that can get after Darnold. And that's a matchup to watch. That Seattle interior offensive line against the Pats interior defensive line. Because if you can get to Darnold, especially naturally without blitzing, that's going to cause Seattle all kinds of trouble, because I don't think they're going to have success running the ball on early downs. Right. But I do expect them to have some blitz packages. I just don't know on the percentage. Do they keep it where it's been, or do they go back to some of their early season tendencies? I don't know, but I'm sure one of their goals, no matter what, is to get pressure on Darnold, right, especially on passing downs.
Yeah. So for me, when I looked at non-linemen that were leading in pass rush rate for the Patriots, Spillane popped. He hasn't gotten home on him, but if he occupies the middle of that, the other thing is, like, if they flush him out, Chason has been insane at chasing guys down on the perimeter when they've been flushed by the pressure that's created. So I've got an escalator on Chason that wasn't allowed to do because Gifford Gould is a war criminal. But in general, I think that the sack, I love doing these sack props. It's also something really great to bet during the Super Bowl, is just like hoping that the defensive lineman gets home. I'd rather do that than bet on these two quarterbacks that have no business being in a Super Bowl. Rashid Shaheed, I talked about Rashid as Super Bowl MVP. I'm going to be on that as well. Anytime touchdown is the safest one. I like 2+ as well. I know you talked about about how he calls for a lot of fair catches, but he's such a weapon in terms of a punt return, about the ability of, he actually, when they first got him, they did actually in November have some runs with him, and then they peeled off of that. I do wonder if there's more of an opportunity here for him to have one random run that gets him even maybe into the end zone, plus the ability for him to use up the side. I think they're going to absolutely bracket.
JSN?
Yeah, JSN, thank you. They're going to bracket him, and so that's going to open up opportunities underneath for guys like Kupp and guys like Shaheed. So I like that look as well. And those are my plays for the Super Bowl.
And you're not watching Super Bowl? You're going to be watching NBA tape? Is that true or false?
No, actually, I'm taking my daughter to an art exhibit in Denver. That's how much I dislike the Super Bowl. I will not play your pitiful games with this ridiculous Super Bowl.
Does an art exhibit open during the Super Bowl?
Yeah, there is one. There's one. There's very trippy. It's in Denver. It's gonna be a great time. I'm gonna love it. Not having to watch the Patriots in another Super Bowl. Look what you've done. You all wanted the Chiefs out. Now look what you've done. We got the Patriots in this thing again.
Well, the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year was not.
It was not fun. It was not enjoyable. That was not enjoyable.
Watch. So
it was not fun.
All right. Well, good luck, Matt. Enjoy the rest of the NBA season. Make sure you follow him on X at HP Basketball. All right. So Matt's max payout around $1,850. Kerner's is around $2,900. Nick's around $11,300. I'll give my pick at some point during the show. I just have one. All right. Who are we bringing on next? Look who it is. Mr. DeBundo, my ex-colleague and good friend. Thank you for joining, sir.
It's good to be back. Leeds are up 2-0.
Who's up 2-0?
Leeds.
I assume that's soccer.
English Premier League. Yeah, they just scored 2 goals while I was in the waiting room. So we need to do this every day when I have a bet.
All right. Well, you're always welcome to join me. You brought. Well, first, what are you doing for the game? Who do you like?
I like Seattle. I'm not dying to lay 4.5. I think maybe first half with the game is -120. That was appealing to me. I thought about some alts. I haven't actually bet the side yet. I have a Seahawks future that I'm hoping to get home, but I will be watching with family as I do every year. We have a big Super Bowl party at our house. The last couple years, 2 of the last 3 with the Eagles in it, with me having money on the Chiefs, it's been a little bit less fun to sit there with a bunch of Eagles fans. This year, we're all going to be pro Seahawks, so that'll be a much more enjoyable experience.
All right. Well, you're going to start things off first half under 22.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go $200 first half under 22.5. I think this game sets up for both teams to really struggle to run the ball. And as a result of that, I don't sense that either coach is going to want to take a ton of chances with risk, because we have 2 inexperienced quarterbacks that have not had a ton of this level of experience. And what we've seen from Drake May in these playoffs has not been good. I think New England has to do their best to try to limit the negative plays, because that's really what sunk their offense. So do they go extra offensive linemen? Do they run the ball and try to establish it even more? Are they going to go very quick underneath passing, try to prevent the long drop backs, the long time to throw, the pressure to sack issues they've had all playoffs? I think they will, and I think that results in a more conservative, slow-paced start. Traditionally, I know this has been a trend in Super Bowls for decades that the second half tends to be higher scoring as the game opens up. The team gets more desperate. So I went under first half, 22.5.
Well, along those lines, the Patriots have played 9 Super Bowls since 2000. The common denominator, one of them, has been McDaniels, an offensive coordinator. How many points total do you think the Patriots have scored in their 9 first quarters in the Super Bowl?
First quarter?
Yeah, total points.
I'm going to go with, they'll probably average about 7. So I'll go 60, a little under.
3.
Wow.
3 total points. They
in the first quarter, they've had 3 total points.
How is that right? Total points.
Even against like the Eagles?
Yep.
Wow.
The Patsy, that's the only time they scored. It was 9-3. There are other games they didn't score a single point in the first quarter. So if you're thinking McDaniel's going to cook up something, this offense could be humming. Maybe it will be, but in the past it hasn't been.
Right.
And it's been a lot with Brady, and I do think that both teams are going to be conservative. Both defenses are going to dominate this game. If you look back, I would like the first quarter under. I used to always play the first quarter under, but you in the past you would be able to get 10. Now it's 7.5. And if you look back of the past 25 Super Bowls, only 4 have had more than 10 points in the first quarter, but 6 of them had exactly 10. 2 had 8 or 9. So now you're talking about a coin flip on 7.5. The average has been right around 7 points. But if you look, my bet, I guess I'll give my bet away now. My bet, before I get to yours, my bet, I'm putting all 1,000, 0-0 first quarter tie. And
what are the odds?
I think it's plus 750.
Oh, okay. I don't mind it.
So
it's all fun and games until Meg gets strip sacked on the first play.
Well, 6 of the past 25 Super Bowls have been 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. So about 1 out of every 4. 4 of the 9 Patriots Super Bowls have been scoreless at the end of the first quarter. And they almost had a 5th. The Rams kicked like a 50-yard field goal in the final minutes of, I think, back in like 2000 or 2002. So they've had a lot of, and I think this is going to be an under game. I think that they're going to play it close to the vest early on. Defense is going to dominate. So I'm going 0-0 tie.
That's a tough one to beat. I mean, well, you'll know early, right? You probably have it wrapped up if you hit that.
Yeah, the only one that could probably beat me is Giffen.
Yeah, his exact score prop.
If it ends 26-21.
He's gonna have to face accusations that he had the script, honestly.
Pat's Falcons was 0-0 end of the first, and I had the under and the Falcons plus 4.5. The worst Super Bowl of my life. I hope this one doesn't go like that. Although I would take it being 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. All right, you also have Barner. What else you got? You have under 38.5 first downs. What's the angle here?
Yeah, this has kind of become my favorite prop. The more and more that I've thought about it, I bet it early last week. It was one of the first things that I bet. I was just kind of scrolling through saying, like, I've never bet a first down prop in my entire life. I was thinking, I don't know how to project this. I don't know how to even think about going about this. And I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to approach what I think is the prevailing sentiment maybe we have, which is that there might be some explosives. There might be some negative plays, but I don't really trust either of these offenses to consistently be methodical and move the ball. If they're not able to run it, we know Seattle has struggled in 3rd and longs this year, obvious passing situations. New England's been elite defensively in those situations. Granted, the schedule hasn't been that tough. So you just look around and you're saying, okay, the only way that these offenses are going to consistently generate their own offense is going to be the downfield passing game. Whether Darnold can hit the play action shots, whether May can hit those downfield boundary throws that Stafford and Baker had so much success against this Seattle defense doing, that's really the challenge. And so even if there is success, I don't think it's going to come by way of all these first downs. So if you add up the average first downs this year, they're right around 38. So I get why the number is where it is, but I think this matchup favors the under heavily at 38.5. So $300 from me on under 38.5 first downs.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see either one of these offenses having sustained drives, right, where they're having success on early downs, and then it's 3rd and short, and it's going to have to be explosives or there's going to be a lot of punts. You also have, I think it's a pretty popular one.
Yeah.
Walker under 72.5 rushing yards, which, I mean, the Patriots' run D has been elite when they're fully healthy.
That's pretty much it. I mean, I don't really trust the Seattle run game either. And, if you were to see a wrinkle change for Seattle, I think it's more likely to come at the expense of them not being quite as run heavy. And that could result in, more traditional drop back passing, more Barner usage. I think they could go heavier than they normally do more often and pass out of it, as opposed to trying to run into the teeth of this really good defense. I mean, they know this too. Like, obviously the game plan, everybody can see what we all see. And I think it ultimately results in, one, Holani could eat into some of the more obvious passing down situations because they don't trust Walker in the pass protection. That could hurt him there. And then the other thing being just that this run offense isn't very good. I mean, they were bottom 10 in the league this year. They had that great game against San Francisco a couple weeks ago, a bad run defense that was very injured at that point, that had no linebackers left. But for the most part, this has not been a very good run offense this year. I think this total is too high. And I think we've seen this get bet down. I think if it got to 70, maybe you'd pass, but 74.5, 75.5, 73.5, all good for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an efficient rushing attack, especially with Walker. The fear is here just like, does he have a 50-yard broken
One
run?
big one, yeah.
But the Pats have been really good in that department, especially on outside zone runs where Walker can bust some of them. They've been elite in that department. You have JSN MVP. We'll hear a lot about that. Do you have one sentence on that other than the obvious?
Yeah, I mean, if I think it's a low-scoring game, and if you think it's going to be similar to kind of what 2018 Rams Patriots was, maybe not that extreme, then all you need is something like 100 yards and a touchdown, and all of a sudden you're in the mix. I'm sure Brandon Anderson, I just got an alert. He's probably going to talk about that later, so I'll let him go more in depth. But plus 550, I was trying to find some ways to be a little different to get some upside here, and that was one of them for me. So I have $100 on that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's low scoring, JSN just like hits his where his bets are all, where his lines are all set, like 100 yards, and the catches and a touchdown, like he's going to be right there.
Especially if Darnold has like
interceptions.
You never know. Like, there's one or two plays Darnold makes every game that are just really awful. And if that happens, everybody will remember that. And if they still win, then it's like, okay, who are we going to give it to? And JSN is probably the next name up. Like, Walker's not interesting to me. You could pick a defensive guy, but good luck. So.
Speaking of defense guys, your last one, you're going with Bryant interception plus 850. Well, why him?
He is just the guy I think who's most apt to jump in front of one of the May deep passes that he's going to be forced to throw down the field as they're trailing late. I think he is one, since they moved him to safety full time, has been incredibly good. He gets his hands on a lot of passes, leads the team in interceptions, plus 850 for me. Kobe Bryant interception. Maybe they'll wrap up the Super Bowl to wrap up the MVP for JSN on the final drive. Seahawks win 23-16, and I win this competition.
So DeBono going first half under 38.5 first downs, Walker under 72.5 rushing yards, JSN MVP, Bryant interception, max payout around 2,100. Good luck, DeBono. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk soon, brother. Hope all is well.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
All right, good stuff from Mr. DeBono. We got none other than Duck coming on.
What's good, brother?
Leonardo dipping his toe in the NFL pond. Duck, how goes it? Who do you like? Do you like anyone for the game? What are you doing for the game?
I will be writing my college basketball weekly situational spots piece and breaking down Navy against Bucknell like only I can do. And just have the game on one of the TVs. So, yeah, I'll be watching it, but I'll be working.
Maybe there's a we won't get into Navy basketball. My producer's going to yell at me. Navy's rolling.
Dangerous 15 seed.
They're rolling in the Patriot League. The Patriot League is very, very, very down. But Bignini, fun point guard to watch. Kehoe, he can rack up the boards. I like that. But they have some versatility with their lineups. If like Kehoe's getting cooked, they can bring in Draper Woods. Yeah, they're definitely the clear favorite in the Patriot. But anyway, let's get to football. So are you going to watch the game?
Oh, yeah. I'll be in the command center. I've got the 6 TVs and the computers. I'll be here at the desk working, but I'll have the game on the TV.
Okay. First bet, you're using almost half of your bankroll on red zone pick plus 330. Reasoning?
Yeah, well, $150 of it. So, I look at Drake May, threw 8 picks during the regular season, but Seattle's defense has been pretty ball hawking. 18 interceptions during the regular season. They did well to force some pressure. Sam Darnold threw 15 or 14 picks during the regular season. And, we see these Super Bowls called in a way where you might have to go deep into the playbook and kind of run something fluky. I could certainly see these defenses step up in the red zone and create a little pressure, and you just have to make a play when it breaks down, and you throw the ball and it gets picked off. And I don't think it's that out of the realm of possibility to see a red zone interception. So the bet is total red zone interceptions combined from both teams is over 0.5. So will there be one or not? Yes is plus 330. So at this price, yeah, it's worth a stab here to say we're going to see a red zone turnover. I'll bet that it's an interception.
I do think it's going to be very difficult for either team to run the ball efficiently. So I think the pass rates in the red zone are going to go up. You have two quarterbacks who can be mistake prone at times. So makes sense. You're going with 3 consecutive scores. No for 250. Any reasoning here?
I mean, I would project this one to be a little bit of a lower scoring game anyway, and it can be hard in a game of this magnitude to really get on a roll and score 3 straight times. I don't foresee this being a runaway Super Bowl here, and I think both these defenses will have success stopping the opposition. You could see some fluky variance with a missed long field goal that sets the other team up the other way, a special teams touchdown or something of that nature, but I'm not wanting to bet on that. I see this one match between teams that I think are fairly even in this one. This would make sense to make the bet the other way in a college game or in a Super Bowl with a high total in the low to mid 50s. But with the total set the way it is, I do think we'll get a real competitive game, and I think that points will be at a premium. So I'm going to go no here at plus money on this prop.
And then you're going half on about 500 on the game under. Talked about that. And then your last long shot is for 100. You're going on a walk-off field goal. Yes, plus 1060.
Yeah, I mean, you really need to get the game script right here on this one, but there's a lot of ways that this can happen. If there's a trailing team by 1 or 2, or if the game's tied in the final minutes and score, you can do it that way. Or if overtime is in play, you get a next score wins type of situation. Jason Myers was 41 of 48 on field goal attempts this season. And of course, Andy Borgales was 27 of 32. I think both these teams have reliable field goal operations that you feel pretty good about trotting out there. Kind of a fun bet, but I can definitely see this one coming down to a walk-off field goal.
I think there's only been one in Super Bowl history. I don't know how much time it was. The Bills, when the Bills missed one, Vinatieri against the Rams. So
we know Scott Norwood missed one.
Yeah, Norwood missed one. I don't know if there was if it was a true, because it has to be a true walk-off is to win the bet. So it can't be 1 second left. I don't know. I'm trying the Norwood one. I don't know if there was 4 seconds left or not, or 3. I can't remember. But all right. So Duck going red zone pick. Yes. No. 3 consecutive scores. The under, full game under for half of his bankroll, and then a long shot on walk-off field goal. Yes, max payout around $23.50. Duck, enjoy the college basketball slate. I'll see you tomorrow. Live show, Big Bets on Campus, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you check that out. And make sure you check out all of Duck's articles. Does great work. Find him on Twitter at StepOnADuck1. Good luck. Enjoy the game, brother.
Cheers, brother. See ya.
All right. We got none other than Grant rocking Seahawks gear. Grant, how goes it, brother?
Oh, pretty good. I was actually at the conference championship game, and so I am more excited for the Super Bowl than I have for a decade since we were last in there.
Well, where were you for the last one, and what was that like?
I was up in the Hawks Nest at the stadium, and it was loud. It was energetic. I was down there tailgating for a few hours at one of the bars, and it was just absolutely incredible. I hadn't been to that stadium since, I want to say 2000, whenever the Beastquake was, so almost a decade ago. And yeah, it was just an absolute blast.
What are you doing for the game this year?
I kind of wanted to have a big Super Bowl party, and then I realized I'm going to be way too focused on it to do anything. So we're just having 5 or 6 people over here, having some drinks, watching the game. Hopefully my daughter doesn't demand we turn off the TV, because that's not going to happen. She's just going to scream if she wants that. So yeah, just having some drinks here, having some people over, and sweating all my bets.
Well, I wish you luck. What's your confidence level? Like, how nervous are you?
Not that nervous, honestly. Like I
Does that
think
worry you that you're not that nervous?
it worries me that the public is on the Seahawks because I think the -4.5 is a good bet. Like I think that they're better at pretty much every position. I think the Patriots are distinctively worse than a lot of people think because of their schedule and how bad Drake May has been versus good defenses. So I'm not terribly worried, and I probably really should be, but I mean, it also helps that one of my biggest bets every single year is on the coin flip. And so that keeps the nerves down on the game up until after the coin flip. And then they really set in, especially if it's not tails.
So what what are you rolling with? Heads or tails?
Tails.
Okay. Rolling with tails to start the game off. I will say, out of all the Super Bowls, I mean, I've been betting NFL for over 20 years. I can't remember a team that I had like less conviction on how good they are. I mean, at this point in the year, usually have a really good feel of where a team should be rated. There's so like the Patriots, because of their schedule, and then they get into the playoffs, there's weather, backup quarterbacks, backup off. Like there's not a huge data set of this team playing like real competition, which I think makes this a bit more intriguing. Hopefully no one gets hurt for the Seahawks, especially where it's being played. But I'm surprised you're not going you have no touchdown bets here. You have 2 bets. I don't even know how you're splitting them up. You didn't even told me. The first is I guess I'll ask you, do you have a long shot touchdown bet?
I don't. Honestly, the only one I really have is Stevenson, just because the odds were at +160 and it seemed a little high, especially after his snap count in the last game. But yeah, I just don't have I don't think this is going to be terribly high scoring. Odds are kind of like, I don't mind Shaheed, I don't mind Cooper Kupp, but realistically, like I don't have a ton of touchdown bets in this just because I don't think it's going to be terribly high scoring. I don't think the ground game is going to do much. It's mostly going to be like both these run defenses are great, and the Patriots have been incredible so far in the playoffs against the run. So I think this is a spot here where the Seahawks have been this year been pretty run heavy. They're probably going to be a bit more pass heavy in this spot, and so that's kind of where both my bets tend to lean. And I think there's going to be a high concentration of passing on the Seahawks end, and a lot of it I think is going to go to JSN.
So those are your 2 bets. You have JSN MVP. How much of the 1,000 are you putting on that?
500. Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood some of the things. I was trying to be sneaky and not let people know what I'm doing, and so it'll be 500 on the other one too. But yeah, JSN for MVP. Like I don't normally bet this market. I did way too deep of a dive into all the Super Bowl MVPs of the last like 25 years, and surprisingly enough, 5 of the last 21 MVPs have been wide receivers. We haven't seen much of it in the last like 15 because it was concentrated in like a 5-year span. It was 3 wide receiver MVPs and then not for like 7 or 8 years until Edelman. But looking at all their lines, like all of them are right around like 5 to 11 catches is the range. The receiving yards was right in between 92 and 141. And then multiple of them won without a touchdown. No wide receiver had more than 2 touchdowns. That was Kupp. So looking at just JSN's median lines, like the lines on the books, 95 yards, touchdown, 7 to 8 catches, like that lines up almost perfectly with pretty much every single wide receiver's line outside of like extra 20 yards or maybe not a touchdown. So we haven't seen a wide receiver that has had this concentration of the offensive target share in the Super Bowl since I guess Cooper Kupp was probably about the closest and he won MVP. It's 35%, by far the highest in the league outside of Garrett Wilson, who is just 2% lower. Like the offense is so concentrated on him. And I know the Patriots may try and scheme him out in this spot. They've this year not been great versus wide receiver ones, just the way they run their defense. Obviously that could change, but as it sits now, like it's historically a QB-centric award, but Darnold isn't the name recognition of Mahomes, of Brady, of Eli Manning, of Rodgers, of Breeze, of Manning. Like he's not a brand name, so that may lend more towards JSN. And most likely, if JSN's getting his normal target share in this, every single game where Darnold has had a big game, you can kind of look at the numbers from that game, look at JSN's numbers, and 80% of the time, if they just have those stats, it's most likely going to be JSN as the MVP and not Darnold, because Darnold's had, 2 games over 300 passing yards. Both those games where he had 300 passing yards, JSN went for 10 receptions, 153 yards, and a touchdown. And the other one, which was against Tampa Bay, he still had 8 receptions, 132 yards, and a touchdown. So if Darnold goes off for a big game, JSN is likely to go off for a statistically bigger game. So that's why I'm on JSN plus 550, especially with the Seahawks rather having around a 68% chance of winning. So that's why I'm rolling with JSN.
And then Darnold over 35 pass attempts. And yeah, like you mentioned, if he just hits his bets, like I've talked about this, like hits where he's projected to score a touchdown, around 90 to 100 yards, and he gets 7 catches, and it's a lower scoring game that the Seahawks win, he's gonna be right there, and you're gonna love having plus 550. So thanks for joining, Grant. Enjoy the game. I wish you better luck this time around against the Patriots, and I hope it doesn't come down to the 1 yard line for your blood pressure.
Yeah, you and me both.
All right, brother. Thanks for joining.
Yep, see you.
All right, so Grant splitting his 2 bets up, JSN MVP and Sam Darnold 35 plus pass attempts. Next up, my man, Evan Abrams. You got to check out his Super Bowl primer, his primer every week. It's always a must read on the Action Network app. Evan, sounds like the cops are coming for you up in New York. How does it?
Yeah, all the time. I live by a hospital. This is what I get 24/7. So there's always something outside. It's entertaining. I'm doing well though, Stuck. This is fun. This is good. I like this.
All right. Well, maybe someone doesn't want you to give out these bets, so let's get them out quick. They're coming for you.
Correct.
There's a lot of JSN love so far.
Yep.
You're going to keep that going. Your first bet, JSN first touchdown combined with MVP for $100, 25 to 1.
Yeah, I'm taking 2 MVP bets. This is the first one. Everyone's talked about JSN. The 550 wasn't enough for me because I'm go big or go home with this because I feel like that's the way to game theory and win this contest. Everyone knows how good he is. 44% of Seattle's receiving yards during the regular season. It's the highest mark for any team and player to make the Super Bowl in the last 50 years. So to me, that's one angle. And the Patriots, haven't been great against wide receiver ones, 31st. Sutton had a touchdown. Even Jaden Higgins without Nico Collins was 6 for 59. So I like that. And 7 first touchdowns for JSN this year for Seattle. And the interesting part is Charbonnet had 6, and he has not missed games. So I do feel like there's like an added bonus there without him, who kind of was the touchdown king early in the game for them.
And you can't really, like the Patriots, when they're full strength, like no one runs for touchdowns on them.
Correct.
Both these teams, I think, are going to have to throw to score in the red zone. Your other MVP bet was May to score a touchdown and him to win MVP 10 to 1.
Yeah, I just feel like if New England is going to win this game, which was my prediction when we've had to do all that stuff for Action Network on the article, it's a Seattle defense versus mobile quarterbacks. They've allowed the second most QB scramble yards, 5.3 yards per carry, 8.1 in the playoffs. And to me, it's also about the scrambling part of this. Like in the 4 games versus top 10 pressure rate teams, 10.4 dropbacks resulted in a sack, which would be 6th most of 27 quarterbacks. And in those games against those high pressure teams, 13 scrambles, 114 yards, and a touchdown. So to me, if he were to win MVP, a lot of people like him for a touchdown. So I will go a little bit higher, 150 on 10 to 1 for him to do both in this game.
And then you have 2 players to be the first to get to 20 plus receiving yards. You have Shaheed at 13 to 1 and Hollins at 11 to 1. Anything you want to add?
Obviously only one can hit, but I am taking 2 dart shots at this. We saw Shaheed get an early look in the conference championship game versus the Rams. Interesting enough, he also has a first quarter target in 4 of his last 6 games since week 15. Wide receiver snaps increasing. We also saw, which is actually kind of interesting, that they aren't scared of giving him work right after a kick or punt. His end around last week came right after he had a 21-yard kick return. So they might just throw him back on the field. And again, I just think he's going to get a bunch of looks in this game, and it might be early for them to take a shot. So that's Shaheed. On Hollins' point, this is pretty simple. He's the deep ball man for them. 13.3 ADOT this year. Also pretty sneaky. He has the 2nd most first quarter targets for New England this entire season, which actually kind of surprised me. So I'm going to take a shot on both of them to get an early big catch that will cash these bets.
And then your final one, I like this touchdown bet. You're combining Barner touchdown with 1+ rush yard plus 450.
Yeah, so Barner is plus 185 around the market, basically to score a touchdown. If you add him to get a 1+ rush yard, it is plus 450. So I'm tossing 400 on this. Now, no Sharps in this game makes me love this bet even more. We've talked about, and DeBundo did, like not many people like Walker. They think he can get stuffed. Well, I think that also is why you might mix in Barner here. Played 25 snaps on the field for run plays in the divisional round, none in the conference championship. So LOL, that is part of the bet. And if you look at our TAN projections for touchdowns, Barner is the second highest. And the thing that's interesting, Stuck, they could be independent events, right? Barner, as we talked about, some people, I forgot, someone liked him in the third quarter. If he catches a touchdown, there's also a time where in the middle of the field on a 4th and 1, he might get a rushing yard. So I'll combine the both of them at plus 450.
All right. We have JSN first touchdown MVP 25-1, May touchdown MVP 10-1, Hollins first to 20, 11-1, Shaheed first to 20, 13-1, and Barner touchdown plus 1 rush yard plus 450. Obviously, you can't hit both of the MVPs. You can't hit both the first 20. So your max payout, if everything goes right, 5,600. What are you doing for the game? Who do you like?
I took as our correct score 2017 Patriots. I've got 2 parties to go to. I am under a half on those parties. I think I'm going to stay home and watch the game. But that's my feeling. I think this is going to be a really interesting game. I mean, listen, talk about like long odds. Both teams like 60 and 80-1. Never seen that before. So kind of hard to get a feeling here. So I will go with the upset.
Evan invited the 2 parties going to neither. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
All right, Evan, thanks for joining. I'll see you on the favorites.
Of course.
And I'll talk to you next week, bro.
Later, guy.
All right, next up, we have none other than Billy Ward, who does tremendous work for us, especially when it comes to UFC. And you have my favorite collection of bets because we have 4 squares, which you bet for $50 each. And then you have a cross-sport UFC parlay. So we'll start with the squares. You have Seattle 6, New England 1, 80-1. Seattle 7, New England 1, 55-1. Seattle 7, New England 0, 25-1. Seattle 6, New England 0, 40-1. Is this just pricing, or do you have anything else you want to add?
It's more of a strategy thing here. I'm not trying to finish with the most dollars. I'm trying to win the contest, right? And those are different goals some of the time. If you guys heard Nick earlier and he talked about his projected scores or the luck ratings projected scores, trying to just capture as many of those outcomes as possible. But I could also get paid out with, a 17-10 final score or something like that, where if you're going for just the straight up final score, you obviously have to hit that. So trying to catch as much of the upside as possible with those. I am blocked by Nick's final score prediction, though. If we get it there, I can't catch him. So I was hoping he wouldn't go with that. I kind of knew he would go with that because we've discussed this a little bit. But I figured I've got 3 other, squares plus different ways of getting to that number that wouldn't also pay Nick out. So that's my biggest competition right now is I could still have a really good day and eventually lose to Dr. Nick.
Yeah, for those who are tuning in late or didn't catch Nick's segment, he has he bet Seattle 26, New England 21 for 300-1, and you have Seattle 6, New England 1. I don't like the vibes. I have Seattle under 25.5 total points, and everyone keeps talking about Seattle scoring 26. They would not
or 16 or 17 though. I don't need him to get 26.
That'd be fine for me.
That's why I went with the squares and not the
Yeah,
final
we're
score.
both rooting for not 26 to 21. So we're on the same page.
Yeah, give me 17-10 and I'm happy.
Okay, and then we have your final one is a UFC bet, and I'm not even going to try more takedowns in Almeida Kunaev. I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, if you're close.
Then Sam Darnold passing touchdowns plus 110 for 800 of your 1,000. I know you know your stuff in UFC. I do not. So do you want to spell this one out?
Yeah, I won't get too deep into it. Sean Zerillo and I both gave out this version of the prop with Drake May rather than Sam Darnold at minus 115. For the sake of the contest, I wanted the plus money. My hope here is if I cash this and everybody else's crazy long shots miss, then I can sneak by with a win just off this one bet. The short version of it is we have Darnold projected for like 1.7 passing touchdowns. I have Almeida himself projected for 2.8 takedowns, so he could cover it himself even without his opponent. But it's also a range of outcomes thing. And 30% of his UFC fights, Almeida's got at least 6 takedowns. I don't see Sam Darnold throwing 6 touchdowns here, even in a ceiling case. So that one could be wrapped up Saturday if Almeida does what he does about a third of the time. And yeah, I also like the other version of that with Drake May, but for the sake of the contest, trying to get the plus money. The one thing I will note, it's a 3-way market. So if they tie, I lose. I don't get the stake back. So that would be a horrible way to lose this contest if one of my squares hit.
I like. I'm following along on this. What time is it on Saturday?
The event starts at 5. That's a main card fight, so probably about 9 Eastern, I would say.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. I will be following along on that. And your max payout, I guess, is, well, you don't want the Nick one. So your max payout, if you get the other best square and the Almeida, about 36-30. Who do you like in the game? Where are you watching?
Yeah, I'm just hanging out here at home. I have similar feelings to Matt Moore about the Super Bowl with my Lions missing the playoffs. Also, a lot of PTSD being on here with you, Stuck. Last time I was on with you, Bet What Happens Live, the Lions had a commanding lead in the NFC Championship over the 49ers. Somehow tanked it in the second half. So getting deep in my feels might avoid some of the Super Bowl here because of that.
I'm a Ravens fan or Chiefs fan. We're all
we're just all sad today.
Yeah, we're all sad. All right, brother. Thanks for joining. Good luck in UFC. UFC Betting Preview Action Network podcast with Sean Zerillo is live. Make sure you check that out and enjoy your weekend. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thanks.
All right, next up, we have none other than Brandon Anderson. I was extremely excited to see what you came up with here because I knew you were going to have some interesting long shots. I will ask you first, who do you like in the game and where are you watching?
Yeah, I mean, I'm rocking the Seahawks green shirt, so Seahawks all the way. Seahawks 70-1 from last February, just hanging on here, trying to get this over the line. So I will be nervous. I'll be watching with maybe just a couple of friends. I get invited to a few like church families' homes. Too many kids, too many distractions. I gotta like focus in on the game. Get like the Velveeta chili cheese dip and chips. Probably just watch with a couple of friends at my house.
It is very different when you're a team or for betting purposes, you have a big future.
Yep.
And like, if it's just a regular other game and you have some bets, like you have to, the viewing experience that you want to cultivate is extremely different in those two scenarios. Like when the Ravens win the Super Bowl, like I don't want anyone around me. And then obviously it's much different this year with the Ravens not there, but let's get into your bets. You have 5 bets. Are you hedging at all on the future, by the way?
No, I'm not a hedger. I just like to believe what I believe in and go for the win. You don't want to give away all the edge you work so hard to get.
Would you consider a big middle if you were up? Or do you think if they're up, it's a runaway?
Yeah, I traditionally try to avoid a live bet situation. I tend to be pretty good at not betting my emotions before the game, but I have no control during the game, I have learned. Like if you look at all my different betting app results, live betting is just atrocious for me. So I typically stay away. In this scenario, I have thought about maybe, like Seattle's up 14-3 or something second quarter. Do I look at like a Drake May MVP bet in that spot to just say, okay, if the Patriots could come back, what's the path? It's probably got to be Drake laying it up at that point. So maybe at that point, but I think too, I'm team content. Most people, I can give them like a day or a week to get their bets in, but people are not going to necessarily get to tail and follow the live bet anyway. So I feel like the fair action for folks following is to stand by the bet. And, the best way you get the long shot better, the best way you're doing well is to lose some heartbreakers. So nearly lost the Stafford heartbreaker last night. I don't even know if he's the right pick, honestly, but we'll take that 50-1 and let's keep vanquishing Patriots with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with you on the live betting. I'm still trying to figure out how to best do that for the app. Like I just put it in for pennies as an alert. And like, no one wants to see someone put in like a big bet live because it's so, first of all, I have to bet it, then put it in the app, then it has to come to you. Then you have to get it. And then you have to go log in and bet. And like the chances that the odds are still the same is very difficult. And it can be tilting. So I completely agree with you. All right, first bet here. Seattle first score and win plus 125.
So this is the basic bet that I made. I came in here trying to win $500, just kind of juice the line a little bit. I doubt that just 500 will get me over the line for the win, but I'm hoping that this kind of adds on later. So a lot of the guys have talked on this already. Your bet really helps to line up with this. You had the 0-0 first quarter bet, hoping we don't get 0-0 first quarter. I'm hoping more like 3-0 first quarter, 7-0 first quarter. I agree with you on a lot of the stuff about Patriots not coming out quickly. McDaniel's offense early on. I had the same stat. I was in the chat with 3. I already had that one in my article for no points in the first quarter. The other side of the ball, though, is what I'm focusing on. So if I like Seattle in the game, I have to like them on the front foot. I have to want Sam Darnold playing with the lead, playing the right way early. Number 1 passing offense on first down, 25th on third down. Patriots defense is kind of the opposite of that. They're pretty stout late downs, but not so good early downs. And then first quarter, Patriots defense 30th DVOA in the regular season. And that really has reflected in the playoffs. If you look at the opening drives, Chargers got to like the 2 and the 5, 2 of their first 3 drives. They didn't do anything good with it, but they got there. They got a field goal as their only points of the game. Texans, they got down to the 1, settle for a field goal, get a touchdown the next drive early in the game. And then the Broncos, look, they kind of were moving the ball in that game with Stidham before everything went crazy on the turnover and downs and then the weather late. So I think New England's defense has been pretty vulnerable early. And the Seahawks offense, if you look at these last 3 games, against the Rams, first 2 drives, 7 points and 3 points. Niners, 3 points and 7, not counting the touchdown on the kickoff. And then other Niners game, the finale in the regular season, touchdown, and then a turnover and downs after 66 yards. So to me, this is, if I like Seattle, I like Clint Kubiak. I like the script. I want Sam Darnold on script. I want some points early. Seattle's 11-0 when they score first this season. They're the only unbeaten team in the NFL. They've scored first 5 straight. This for me is, how could I take Seattle and not have to lay the 4.5, not have to lay the money line price? I'm juicing it with the score first, getting the plus 125. It's $400 on my 1,000.
All right, and next you're going JSN MVP, but not just MVP. You're combining 100 plus receiving yards, so you're taking that from around 550 to 850.
Yeah, I'm annoyed so many others are taking JSN. I feel like I'm kind of losing the edge. So hopefully the 100-yard boost gets me a little bit of juice back. It's $200 on this one. Yeah, I think a lot of folks have already kind of made the case pretty well here. One thing I love about JSN, he was responsible for 44% of Darnold's yards this year and 40% of his passing touchdowns. So if you think, okay, what's a normal-ish Darnold line in a win? Maybe like 275 yards and 2 scores. All right, well, JSN's going to be at like 130, 8 catches and a score out of that. Which one of those looks more impressive to an MVP voter, especially like DeBundo said? What if you get one big mistake from Darnold in there? JSN's not going to have that sort of mistake. Patriots dead last DVOA against wide receiver 1. I wanted the JSN escalator. I bet him for 7 catches, 8 catches. If you get past that, 9, 10 catches or over 120 yards, forget that. You're at like 2-1, 3-1. Just go straight to MVP. That line is going to put you in the mix. And I think with the bet available to add the 100 yards in, there are very few scenarios where JSN goes under 100 yards, like hits his under on the receiving line and still is an MVP. We're going to think of that as a down game for him, as good as he's been. If you look back, we've had 3 receivers since the 80s lead the league in receiving yards and then make the Super Bowl. They've, in their 3 Super Bowl games, put up something like 10 catches, 140 yards a game, and 8 touchdowns between them. And admittedly, 2 of them were Jerry Rice. So we're juicing the numbers a little bit here, but I just think it's a JSM spot. And I'm hoping my juiced plus 850 here gets me a little bit ahead of some of the other JSN picks.
All right, then you have your next 2 are similar, but for each team. You have Seattle defensive or special team score plus money line plus 833, and then Pats defensive or special team score plus money line plus 2703. I do think this is a game where there's a higher than normal chance that you can see a defensive score by either team. And by the way, just to cap off your MVP with the Darnold and the numbers, and like Darnold isn't the household name, right? That like you have with Brady and Mahomes. So like that, I think contributes to, you got to remember, this is like a people voting award. But Seattle defensive special team score and money line, and then Pat's defensive special team score and money line. Thoughts there?
Yeah, you can bring me back on the show next year. I'm going to make this exact same bet with whatever the two teams are. There won't be the Vikings. Y'all are sad about your team not being the Super Bowl. It'd be nice if the Vikings ever made a Super Bowl. So at least enjoy the ones you get. Defensive teams have had 23 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. It's more than one in every 3 Super Bowls. Both Chiefs-Eagles games had a touchdown by the defense. 14 defensive scores in the last 24. That's over a half a defensive touchdown expected per game in that stretch. Like you said, Seattle aggressive defense, but second most giveaways on offense. So I'm obviously we're going to get to my max payout when you get there. I can't win both of these, right? Like I can only win one or the other. I don't mind. I haven't heard a lot of Patriots action on here. If New England wins, and it's football, it's a weird oblong ball, why wouldn't they win? Because we got the Darnold turnover, some unlucky bounce, some goofy play, defense back the other way. 7 free points is a pretty good reason to win a game that you're not expected to. And that's why I have the combo here. 23 defensive touchdowns in the Super Bowl, 20 of them came from the winning team. So you want to bet the winning team to get the defensive touchdown. Make sure you get special teams at your book as well. I'm playing both of them. In this contest, since I like Seattle more, I'll go 200 on Seattle, 100 on New England. My goal with the bets here is I basically had the one kind of safer bet and then 4 other ones to put me at like 1,500, 3,000-ish range. If I get any one of the other 4, I'll feel pretty good about my chances. And hopefully the 500 from the first bet just adds on.
Yeah, if the Pats score defensive special teams touchdown and win the game, I think you have a really good chance of winning the contest as long as it's not 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. And as long as Billy doesn't hit one of his
squares.
And yeah, I think Kerner would be close if he hits his parlay. Nick, but there can't be a defensive MVP. So you can't have a defensive MVP.
Oh, who bet that one?
Giffen would win 32.50 on a defensive MVP, 13 to 1. So you got to
have that in my article. I'm betting that. I had a 15-1 defensive MVP in my article. Gifford says 5 bets. So I only gave you 5. That this was the best way to do it.
I like that as well. So we Rayvon and I talked about that. And then your final bet. This is a really intriguing one. Rashid Shaheed, longest rush, 30 to 1. You could also win the contest if this happens. And then, JSN doesn't, or like Seattle doesn't win.
Yeah.
If the Pats win and then this happens. So this is a game where I was looking into this market because I was like, I don't think either team's going to have much success on the ground. So like the actual longest rush number could be very low. And then I think both teams, because they know they're not going to have sustained success with their, basic rushing attack, they're going to have to get creative. And one of the ways they can get creative is get the ball in Shaheed's hands in different ways.
Yeah, he's got a rushing attempt in 8 of 11 games since the Seahawks traded for him. I think they're using him kind of like Percy Harvin. To me, betting Rashid Shaheed, I think it's the most fun bet you can make for the Super Bowl. Like you're getting one shot at a Shaheed run in all likelihood, unless you get like a backward pass or something. He's got green shoes. I bet this in the NFC Championship game, and you're just watching the green shoes on every play. Watch the green shoes. Wait for your one run. He finally got it, and it was right after a kickoff that he returned. I was like, what are you doing? He just ran all over the field on a return. Don't have him run the ball the very next play. I needed over a half a yard. He runs over, has a yard, but didn't want to take the hit and steps out for a gain of 0. So I got hooked on this one. I did not have fun. I think it will be fun in the Super Bowl, waiting for your one shot to come around the end and hopefully bust a long one. We know how fast he is. You're hopefully getting like a punt return on a run. Do you know that the Patriots actually allowed the most rushing yards to opposing receivers this year? I don't make a ton of that, but they did allow the 6th most attempts, 7 double-digit runs by opposing receivers. One of those was a 31. Shaheed has a 30 and a 31 with Seattle. And look, we always get the gadget play in the Super Bowl, right? These coaches have been waiting for this one big moment to unveil the play. And yeah, like what you said, I don't really love the rushing angles for either team in this game. Probably chalk would be Kenneth Walker to get the longest rush. His longest rush is usually like 15 to 20. We might win this with like a 18, 20-yard rush. I think Shaheed could get a long one. Did you know that Seattle's leading rusher in their last Super Bowl win? Percy Harvin with 45 yards, including a 30-yard run in that game. So if we're going to run it back on Seattle, let's run it back with Shaheed as Harvin. And yeah, I think this could hit in a win, a loss in a lot of scenarios. So at 30-1, I think that's just way too long.
Love the look. All right, Brandon. You have Seattle first score and win plus 125, JSN 100 plus receiving yards and MVP plus 850. Both teams, two separate bets, defensive special team score and money line. Seattle plus 833, Pats plus 2703, and then Shaheed longest rush 30-1. Your max payout around 6,800. If Seattle loses, around 5,700. Good stuff. Enjoy the game. Good luck on your future. Thanks for joining me, brother.
Thanks, Doc.
All right, and then finally, we have none other than my partner in crime on the Action Network podcast. One final dance, Chris. I saved the best for last. And to anyone who came on this show, they are really, really not going to like your pick because you have one bet, and it's going to eliminate a lot of people because if you hit, they have no chance. You're allocating. Well, first of all, how's it going? What are you doing for the game? And have you bet aside yet?
I haven't bet aside yet. What's going on, Stuck? Love the concept of the show. I'm a true football fan, man. I gotta watch games. I gotta watch these games alone. Sometimes, I got friends in the, right around here. So, sometimes one or two people might come through, watch it with me. But yeah, I need to watch games by myself, man. Like that's just, it doesn't matter. Like I always have a lot on it, like riding on it. So it's like not even about. I mean, the Giants have it. I've actually watched the Giant Super Bowls with the most people because I'm from New York and we all got together. But yeah, no, I'm watching it alone and haven't been aside yet. But I like the Seahawks. Don't know about the 4.5 though, because I have a lot of respect for Vrabel. A lot of respect.
All right, and then you're allocating your bet, all 1,000 to one bet. We talked about this on the podcast. What are you going with?
All 1,000, JSN MVP. So I'll give you they all gave you the reasoning for JSN MVP. I don't need to do that. I'll give you the game theory. I figured that being how smart everybody's going to be, that they were going to try to come up with these combinations. So my thing was I wanted to go one bet. I thought that was the sharpest way to go. And you matched it. So you knew what was up. And then my other thing was I didn't want to add a bunch of because everyone's going with I thought they were going to go more bets. I needed something with the least amount of multiple events to happen and the most outs. And I think this JSN plus 550, all 1,000 solves all those because number one, the most likely outcome is Seattle winning. The most likely, if JSN hits his medians and Darnold hits his medians, JSN more likely. And then everything else is kind of I'm forcing everyone to hit multiple bets except you, who I think probably scares. I think easily scare me the most because that 0-0 first quarter, you could have.
That would help JSN MVP because it's not like a 35-31 game, It
would, yeah, exactly. But you got it at plus 750. So I think the Evan, I thought if he was smart with the going with what was it, JSN MVP, and he added something else to it.
First touchdown.
Right, yeah. So that was smart in the sense, but I thought he should have put more on it. Like if he had put a bigger amount, I would have been a little more scared of that. And then I think Brandon had a similar kind of idea with, some of the stuff he did. But given that no one else put all 1,000 on one bet, which I thought was going to be key in this contest, I do feel pretty good. It's just, and I guess for your bet, which I think is really sharp, the angle I'm looking for is, okay, hopefully Drake May ain't Brady, right? Because I know Brady's just so patient, right? Like he's gonna just take all those underneath, and he also just comes out so bad a lot of the time because he's trying to just not do too much. But Drake May is he's gonna gunsling it all over. So I could see maybe that's the way I can get ahead of you on that one with the score in the first quarter. But I thought yours was really sharp but I really wanted to go above 5-1 because I knew the minute people start splitting it up among more than one bet, it kind of creates some variance there. And the books already have these things priced out. So that actually works in my favor because good luck trying to find multiple. You're gonna be more likely to hit one, but less likely to hit enough. So that was my kind of thought process behind just going on 1,000.
Love it. There's a lot of JS and love out there on this show and then just in general, and rightfully so. But My only pushback would be, and this is the most fascinating, the most fascinating angle of this game for me is the Patriots obviously know that, and if I was the Patriots, I would treat this like Belichick did, how he used to approach like Tyreek Hill and dominant number one receivers and say, no matter what, I'm taking them away, and I would put, I would have my second quarter, I would have my second corner and a safety over top, and basically try to bracket. You can't do it all the time. And I'm also curious to see, what do the Seahawks do with JSN? They know that too, right? The back and forth. How much do they put him in the slot? How much are they motioning him? How much are they, did they take him out of the backfield sometimes? They're going to move him all around, get him the ball in many different ways. But how much of I think the sole focus of not the sole focus, but the primary focus of the Patriots defensive game plan should be, we can't let this guy beat us. If you want to throw to Shaheed and Kupp and Barner all day, we trust our run defense and go ahead. Do you think that there's just nothing they can do to completely shut him down?
Not for 4 quarters, and not in a game that projects this low scoring. So and that's why I like the JSN MVP angles, because let's say it's just an ugly game, like a lot of people think it could be. Like this would be live in this contest, especially if, let's say, there is a field goal in the first quarter. But regardless, just this could be live. Like JSN could be sitting on like 0 receiving yards entering the fourth quarter, and if it's a low scoring game, he gets a couple of drives where he gets the big plays on each and a touchdown.
And he also has like really highlight reel type catches that are
best player on the field.
Yeah. But like those one-handed grabs you have, those go a long way. You got to remember, these are human. It's like humans voting. I think it's going to be very difficult for either one of these teams to run in for scores. So I think for Seattle to score, they're going to have to throw in the red zone, and the most likely target there is JSN.
And he can beat double coverage, by the way. Just that's the thing about him when you're taking the best player on the field, and I think it's JSN period. I mean, you put 2 guys on, you're not going to play man, or like you're going to switch it up from man and zone. So sometimes it's going to be cloud brackets. Sometimes it's going to be a true man, situation where the safety's looking at him, the corner runs with him. But either way, you can, and Seattle comes out in a lot of different formations, which helps. So you could condense it, and you're going to have fullbacks. You might have the 2 tight ends. You have just so many different ways, and then you can spread them out too. He can beat double coverage. He's going to get separation on one of the 2 guys anyway. So
yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't just. You're not able to just double someone the entire game. But do they also follow him? That's another thing. Like as much as you can, because Gonzalez has done that sometimes, but not always. So I'm super fascinated to see how the Patriots play, and then how the Seahawks respond. I'm sure the Patriots definitely spent some time looking at the Vikings tape with Flores did. That was JSN's worst game. They used a lot of those cloud bracket coverages. They were doubling him at safeties over top a lot. And I think he finished with, they didn't have to do much though that game. I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say, those are at the 26-0.
Yeah, that's the Brosmer.
Brosmer. Oh, I don't even want to talk about that one. But that was my one thing where it was like, all right, I'm looking at this and I'm trying to see, okay, like there's a lot of smart people. Are they going to try to go different angles? And I've heard some people say, I think we're going to concentrate on JSN, but it's like that was the one game where it worked, but it doesn't really apply necessarily to this game in the same sense. So especially because in this one, Seattle is not expected to run, and we've seen JSN line up in the backfield, and Brady even talked about it. He's like, "Yo, they line this dude up in the backfield, and it's like an automatic target, and defenses know that, and they just can't do anything about it." So it'd be interesting. I could see JSN getting multiple carries, which would help one of your bets. But yeah, I could, there's just too many ways. So I think it came down to game theory. I think this is a great idea for a contest. So that's my shot at winning it. And I think you're the most dangerous challenger that at least I'm scared of in terms of my angle hitting.
All right. Good stuff. Yeah. I thought that you were one of the best as far as how you approach the game theory aspect, which is a huge part of this contest with 10 others and myself in it. Thanks for joining me, brother. Thanks for joining me all year in the Action Network podcast. If you haven't checked out our Super Bowl preview, we break down from like every angle, ramble about every possible angle. Make sure you check that out.
I'll have a write-up too. I'll be writing up the game guide.
Yeah, I will as well. You mentioned another bet that I like, over 4.5 Seahawks to get a rush attempt, over 7.5 total rush players to have a rush attempt in the game. I just think both teams got to get creative and get their receivers carries. They're not going to be able to run it with their standard rush attack. And then I think you might get a Barner sneak, which adds another one. And you might
You get
have
a
a
blowout.
Patriot.
You got a blowout
Blowout.
also before you get a blowout. Maybe you get Drew Lock. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe there's an injury. I also think the Patriots might have, if I was them, I would take an hour and spend it on having a guy practice the tush push. Drake May is not a great sneaker. And that's like, we saw that in the Denver game. I know they gave him the first time, but he didn't really get it. So you might have a Patriots unknown, like tush push guy here.
Henry?
Yeah, could be Henry. All right, good stuff. Thanks, Chris. Make sure you check him out on X, his write-up and Action Network podcast. Thanks to Chris, Duck, Matt, Brandon, Evan, Kerner, Billy, Nick, DeBundo, Grant, our producers. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. If you commented who you think is going to win, our producers will grab it. And if you were right, you'll win a prize from me as well. But thanks to everyone for joining me. Thought this was a lot of fun. And good luck on the Super Bowl on all of your wagers. Thanks for following us all along during the football season. We will catch you all later. Cheers.